Everyone may not be good, but there's always something good in everyone. Never judge anyone shortly, because every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. It's beauty that captures your attention, personality which captures your heart. Selfishness is not living your life as you wish to live it. Selfishness is wanting others to live their lives as you wish them to. If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. If it is worth having, it is worth waiting for. If it is worth attaining, it is worth fighting for. If it is worth experiencing, it is worth putting aside time for. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. Religion is like a blind man looking in a black room for a black cat that isn't there and finding it. An optimist will tell you the glass is half full, the pessimist half empty, and the engineer will tell you the glass is twice the size it needs to be. Some cause happiness wherever they go, others whenever they go. The answers are all out there. We just need to ask the right questions. Conformity is the last refuge of the unimaginative. Many of the great achievements of the world were accomplished by tired and discouraged men who kept on working. Keep love in your heart. A life without it is like a sunless garden when the flowers are dead. The consciousness of loving and being loved brings a warmth and a richness to life that nothing else can bring. Some people always know the price, but not the value. What seems to us as bitter trials are often blessings in disguise. Women are made to be loved, not understood. Experience is simply the name we give our mistakes. With freedom, books, flowers, and the moon, who could not be happy? They've promised that dreams can come true, but forgot to mention that nightmares are dreams, too. We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessities. In love, it is better to know and be disappointed than to not know and always wonder. The man who says his wife can't take a joke forgets that she took him. A pessimist is somebody who complains about the noise when opportunity knocks. If you cannot prove a man wrong, don't panic. You can always call him names. Ultimately, the bond of all companionship, whether in marriage or in friendship, is conversation. Cats are put on earth to remind us that not everything has a purpose. Two men look out a window. One sees mud, the other sees the stars. Never love anyone who treats you like you're ordinary. There are moments when one has to choose between living one's own life, fully, entirely, completely, or dragging out some false, shallow, degrading existence that the world in its hypocrisy demands. The only one you need in your life is that person who shows you he needs you in his. True contentment is not having everything, but in being satisfied with everything you have. People may fail many times, but they become failures only when they begin to blame someone else. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. I don't want to go to heaven. None of my friends are there. With age comes wisdom, but sometimes age comes alone. If you want to tell people the truth, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. The best way to enjoy your job is to imagine yourself without one. The only people I would care to be with now are artists and people who have suffered, those who know what beauty is, and those who know what sorrow is. Nobody else interests me. Put your talent into your work, but your genius into your life. I love to talk about nothing. It's the only thing I know anything about. If you cannot write well, you cannot think well. If you cannot think well, others will do your thinking for you. To look at a thing is very different from seeing it. The only thing I cannot resist is temptation. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. A good friend will always stab you in the front. You are beautiful when you are happy. Marriage is a long, dull meal with dessert served at the beginning. Always be a little unexpected. To define is to limit. I am so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. Don't be discouraged if your children reject your advice. Years later they will offer it to their own offspring. God grant me the serenity to accept that people are ignorant, the courage to uphold the law when I'm hostile, and the wisdom to realize that murder is illegal. To have become a deeper man is the privilege of those who have suffered. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. I refuse to have a battle of wits with an unarmed man. A passion for pleasure is the secret of remaining young. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions, their lives a mimicry, their passions a quotation. No man is rich enough to buy back his past. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Let nothing be lost upon you. Be always searching for new sensations. Be afraid of nothing. Always borrow money from a pessimist. He won't expect it back. Don't be afraid. There are exquisite things in store for you. This is merely the beginning. Simple pleasures are the last healthy refuge in a complex world. Nature, a place where birds fly around uncooked. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Just be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you place the blame. The old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, the young know everything. To give and not expect return, that is what lies at the heart of love. Crying is for plain women, pretty women go shopping. I never forget a face, but in your case I'll make an exception. I have no objection to anyone's sex life as long as they don't practice it in the street and frighten the horses. Ordinary riches can be stolen, real riches cannot. In your soul are infinitely precious things that cannot be taken from you. Death must be so beautiful, to lie in the soft brown earth with the grasses waving above one's head and listen to silence, to have no yesterday and no tomorrow, to forget time, to forgive life, to be at peace. Circumstances should never alter principles. A gentleman is one who never hurts anyone's feelings unintentionally. The best revenge is to live well. Life is too short to be taken seriously. Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. Society exists only as a mental concept. In the real world, there are only individuals. A man can be happy with any woman as long as he does not love her. Everybody who is incapable of learning has taken to teaching. Don't use big words, they mean so little. It is absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. The emotions of man are stirred more quickly than man's intelligence. Be moderate in all things, including moderation. The moment that an artist takes notice of what other people want and tries to supply the demand, he ceases to be an artist. Thinking is wonderful, but the experience is even more wonderful. In war, the strong make slaves of the weak, and in peace the rich make slaves of the poor. I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, and to dominate them. Any place that we love becomes our world. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people whom we personally dislike. I beg your pardon, I didn't recognize you. I've changed a lot. Between men and women there is no friendship possible. There is passion, enmity, worship, love, but no friendship. Love will fly if held too lightly. Love will die if held too tightly. Disobedience, in the eyes of anyone who has read history, is man's original virtue. It is through disobedience that progress has been made, through disobedience and through rebellion. Sooner or later we have all to pay for what we do. I have a simple taste, only the best. Always forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. I never put off till tomorrow what I can do the day after. We are each our own devil, and we make this world our hell. Marriage is the triumph of imagination over intelligence. Second marriage is the triumph of hope over experience. History is a lie commonly agreed upon. You will always be fond of me. I represent to you all the sins you have never had the courage to commit. A writer is someone who has taught his mind to misbehave. Hear no evil, speak no evil, and you won't be invited to cocktail parties. The curves of your lips rewrite history. Life is too short to be in a hurry. Love is a misunderstanding between two fools. You can never be overdressed or overeducated. People who count their chickens before they are hatched act very wisely, because chickens run about so absurdly that it's impossible to count them accurately. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Don't give a woman advice. One should never give a woman anything she can't wear in the evening. A man who takes himself too seriously will find that no one else takes him seriously. When bankers get together, they talk about art. When artists get together, they talk about money. An excellent man, he has no enemies, and none of his friends like him. It is what you read when you don't have to that determines what you will be when you can't help it. Some things are too important to be taken seriously. Between the optimist and the pessimist, the difference is droll. The optimist sees the donut, the pessimist the hole. One should always be in love. That is the reason one should never marry. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. It takes great deal of courage to see the world in all its tainted glory and still to love it. What fire does not destroy, it hardens. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Democracy means simply the bludgeoning of the people by the people for the people. If you don't get everything you want, think of the things you don't get that you don't want. An idea that isn't risky is hardly worth calling an idea. Men marry because they are tired, women because they are curious. Both are disappointed. Art is the only serious thing in the world, and the artist is the only person who is never serious. I like hearing myself talk. It is one of my greatest pleasures. I often have long conversations all by myself. Sometimes I am so clever I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. When both a speaker and an audience are confused, the speech is profound. To be popular, one must be a mediocrity. Pleasure is the only thing one should live for. Nothing ages like happiness. How can a woman be expected to be happy with a man who insists on treating her as if she were a perfectly normal human being? A mask tells us more than a face. I can't stand people that do not take food seriously. Life is never fair, and perhaps it is a good thing for most of us that it is not. I have spent most of the day putting in a comma and the rest of the day taking it out. Success is a science. If you have the conditions, you get the result. Hatred is blind as well as love. When a love comes to an end, weaklings cry, efficient ones instantly find another love, and the wise already have one in reserve. Nowadays, saying what you really think can be a serious error since one risks being misunderstood. You know more than you think you know, just as you know less than you want to know. To do nothing at all is the most difficult thing in the world, the most difficult and the most intellectual. Fashion is a form of ugliness so intolerable that we have to alter it every 6 months. The best way to make children good is to make them happy. A bore is someone who deprives you of solitude without providing you with company. The soul is born old but grows young. That is the comedy of life. Anyone can sympathize with the sufferings of a friend, but it requires a very fine nature to sympathize with a friend's success. The good we get from art is not what we learn from it. It is what we become through it. If a man treats life artistically, his brain is his heart. Women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. Seriousness is the only refuge of the shallow. I walk the world in wonder. The secret to life is to enjoy the pleasure of being terribly, terribly deceived. The husbands of very beautiful women belong to the criminal classes. I drink to separate my body from my soul. I made your sorrow mine also, that you might have help in bearing it. If people were meant to be nude, they would have been born this way. There is one thing infinitely more pathetic than to have lost the woman one is in love with, and that is to have won her and found out how shallow she is. The world was my oyster, but I used the wrong fork. Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. I have the simplest tastes. I am always satisfied with the best. To live in this world is a rare thing. Most people just exist. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. I can resist everything but temptation. Because sometimes you have to do something bad to do something good. Popularity is the one insult I have never suffered. The systems that fail are those that rely on the permanency of human nature and not its growth and development. Woman begins by resisting a man's advances and ends by blocking his retreat. I see when men love women, they give them but a little of their lives, but women, when they love, give everything. A man who does not think for himself does not think at all. Wisdom is to have dreams big enough not to lose sight when we pursue them. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction. It seems to me that we all look at nature too much and live with her too little. Without order, nothing can exist. Without chaos, nothing can evolve. Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. There are only two kinds of people who are really fascinating: people who know absolutely everything and people who know absolutely nothing. Love is like a war, easy to start but hard to end, and you never know where it might take you. Illusion is the first of all pleasures. There is no sin except stupidity. Men as a rule love with their eyes, women with their ears. Moderation is a fatal thing. Nothing succeeds like excess. One does not see anything until one sees its beauty. In America, the young are always ready to give to those who are older than themselves the full benefits of their inexperience. The only difference between the saint and the sinner is that every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. They spoil every romance by trying to make it last forever. Those whom the gods love grow young. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. There are only two tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. Society often forgives the criminal. It never forgives the dreamer. Men always want to be a woman's first love. Women like to be a man's last romance. I have nothing to declare but my genius and this 4-kilo bag of cocaine. Some things are more precious because they don't last long. The heart was made to be broken. It is better to be beautiful than to be good, but it is better to be good than to be ugly. The story of mankind began in a garden and ended in Revelations. For one moment our lives met, our souls touched. A dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight. Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. The sick do not ask if the hand that smooths their pillow is pure, nor the dying care if the lips that touch their brow have known the kiss of sin. I have nothing to declare except my genuines. The most terrible thing about it is not that it breaks one's heart, hearts are made to be broken, but that it turns one's heart to stone. People fashion their God after their own understanding. They make their God first and worship him afterwards. Her trust makes me faithful. Her belief makes me good. Art only begins where imitation ends. One should always be in love. I have learned this. It is not what one does that is wrong, but what one becomes as a consequence of it. A man who marries his mistress leaves a vacancy in that position. No man dies for what he knows to be true. Men die for what they want to be true, for what some terror in their hearts tells them is not true. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. Beauty is the only thing that time cannot harm. When I was young, I thought that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I am old, I know that it is. The aim of love is to love, no more, no less. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. We all have clouds above us, but some see their silver linings. We all face difficulties, but some of us are grateful that they aren't worse. I have always been of the opinion that hard work is simply the refuge of people who have nothing whatever to do. A work of art is the unique result of a unique temperament. Its beauty comes from the fact that the author is what he is. It has nothing to do with the fact that other people want what they want. Every effect that one produces gives one an enemy. To be popular, one must be a mediocrity. I have never killed anyone, but I have often read about some guy getting his ass taken out with great pleasure. They get up early because they have so much to do, and go to bed early because they have so little to think about. A red rose is not selfish because it wants to be a red rose. It would be horribly selfish if it wanted all the other flowers in the garden to be both red and roses. The best people to work for are me, myself, and I. I am a man of simple pleasures. The best suits me perfectly. I don't at all like knowing what people say of me behind my back. It makes me far too conceited. As one reads history, one is absolutely sickened, not by the crimes that the wicked have committed, but by the punishments that the good have inflicted. One should always play fairly when one has the winning cards. Women are never disarmed by compliments. Men always are. That is the difference between the sexes. I don't want to earn my living. I want to live. What a pity that in life we only get our lessons when they are of no use to us. A true gentleman is one who is never intentionally rude. Looking good and dressing well is a necessity. Having a purpose in life is not. We live in an age that reads too much to be wise, and that thinks too much to be beautiful. Prayer must never be answered. If it is, it ceases to be prayer and becomes correspondence. To make men socialists is nothing, but to make socialism human is a great thing. Only the shallow know themselves. Patriotism is the virtue of the vicious. The commonest thing is delightful if one only hides it. It is what we fear that happens to us. I like talking to a brick wall. It's the only thing in the world that never contradicts me. A map of the world that does not include utopia is not worth even glancing at, for it leaves out the one country at which humanity is always landing. In fact, the whole of Japan is a pure invention. There is no such country. no such people. The Japanese people are simply a mode of style, an exquisite fancy of art. The reason we all like to think so well of others is that we are all afraid for ourselves. The basis of optimism is sheer terror. I like persons better than principles, and I like persons with no principles better than anything else in the world. One's dreams must be big enough so as not to lose sight of them. Only good questions deserve good answers. In examinations, the foolish ask questions that the wise cannot answer. An idea that is not dangerous is unworthy of being called an idea at all. The only way to even approach doing something perfectly is through experience, and experience is the name everyone gives to their mistakes. Most people are other people. The one duty we owe to history is to rewrite it. Scandal is gossip made tedious by morality. We always misunderstood ourselves and rarely understood others. My great mistake, the fault for which I can't forgive myself, is that one day I ceased my obstinate pursuit of my own individuality. I quite agree with Dr. Nordau's assertion that all men of genius are insane, but Dr. Nordau forgets that all sane people are idiots. Beauty ... is of the great facts in the world like sunlight, or springtime, or the reflection in dark water of that silver shell we call the moon. The only way a woman can ever reform a man is by boring him so completely that he loses all possible interest in life. The key to making up Oscar Wilde quotes is to add Oscar Wilde at the end. Women have a wonderful instinct about things. They can discover everything except the obvious. Appearance blinds, whereas words reveal. When the God wished to punish us, he answered our prayers. The nicest feeling in the world is to do a good deed anonymously and have somebody find out. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. I never approve or disapprove of anything now. It is an absurd attitude to take towards life. It is better to repent a sin than regret the loss of a pleasure. Every little action of the common day makes or unmakes character. How clever you are, my dear. You never mean a single word you say. Talent borrows, genius steals. Good intentions have been the ruin of the world. The only people who have achieved anything have been those who have had no intentions at all. The aim of the liar is simply to charm, to delight, to give pleasure. He is the very basis of civilization. civilized society. The optimist sees the donut, the pessimist sees the hole. The only thing that ever consoles man for the stupid things he does is the praise he always gives himself for doing them. There is no such thing as morality or immorality in thought. There is a moral emotion. I don't want to earn a living, I want to live. I am one of those who are made for exceptions, not for laws. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. There is something terribly morbid in the modern sympathy with pain. One should sympathize with the color, the beauty, the joy of life. The less said about life soars, the better. Wickedness is a myth invented by good people to account for the curious attractiveness of others. If you are not long, I will wait for you all my life. Memory is the diary that we all carry about with us. She wore far too much rouge last night and not quite enough clothes. That is always a sign of despair in a woman. Lying, the telling of beautiful, untrue things, is the proper aim of art. Arguments are to be avoided. They are always vulgar and often convincing. Mere color, unspoiled by meaning and unallied with definite form, can speak to the soul in 1,000 different ways. Indeed, I have always been of the opinion that hard work is simply the refuge of people who have nothing to do. Wherever there is a man who exercises authority, there is a man who resists authority. Those who have much are often greedy. Those who have little always share. One should absorb the color of life, but one should never remember its details. Details are always vulgar. If you pretend to be good, the world takes you very seriously. If you pretend to be bad, it doesn't. Such is the astounding stupidity of optimism. Popularity is the crown of laurel which the world puts on bad art. Whatever is popular is wrong. Learn to differentiate between ignorance and stupidity. Men become old, but they never become good. Everyone is worthy of love, except him who thinks that he is. Love is a sacrament that should be taken kneeling. The mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death. The difference between literature and journalism is that journalism is unreadable and literature is not read. Ambition is the last refuge of the failure. For he who lives more lives than one, more deaths than one, must die. Which quote did you like the most? Share your opinion in the comments. Don't miss out on a chance to see the next video. Subscribe.